Hey everyone, it's been a while since we've shared a video with y'all. We were gone out of the country for a couple weeks, and then I was crazy sick with COVID, but we're back.
I think it was COVID. We don't know.
We're back, and we wanted to share a topic with you today that seems to come up a lot, or at least I see a lot of people talking about this in like various forums on Facebook and stuff like that. And it's carnivore as a couple, or if you're watching this, you may be part of a couple, marriage, relationship, where you're all on board to do carnivore or a variation of it, ketovore, animal-based, and maybe your partner isn't. So what we're going to hope to do in this video is talk about, one, maybe not necessarily how you can convince them, but how you can lead by example in your relationship. And then two, talk about all the benefits that you guys can get as a couple by doing this together. So you want to add anything before we...
Yeah, that's basically how it happened to us. I mean, I started doing it, and you thought it was crazy, and
yeah. So if you guys have heard our story, like Zach was saying, he started doing carnivore after he dove into the depths of YouTube, and he started listening to people like Anthony Chafee, Bart K, all the names that we know. And he decided to just literally go cold turkey, meat, salt, water. And I thought he was completely insane. And then I started to see his changes in real time and in real life. And I realized, wow, there's way more to this than meets the eye. I'm going to need to do it. And he was so beyond supportive, because not only was he not pushing me necessarily to do it, but he was fine with how I needed to kind of do one thing at a time. There wasn't a lot in my diet that I was eating that wasn't carnivore. I was eating salads, rice, and oats.
That's about it.
Pretty much. So those were kind of the only main things that had to go. I took out the salads first. I noticed benefits right away. Then I took out rice, and then finally I took out oats. Or it was one of those two orders. But it took me probably a good 4 to 6 months to go through that transition, because I just wasn't mentally ready. So I think the first lesson in that is that if you are with your partner, lead by example.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is don't push, because I've had some couples in our group, or at least one part of the couple would come up and they would say, hey, my partner hates this. They don't want to have anything to do with it. They're even thinking about divorcing me over this. And it's wow, it's just food, And what I told them, and it actually worked, I was you have to draw a line and say, this is what I'm doing for my health, right? These are the benefits that I have. There's, unless you can give me an explanation on why I should keep doing what I was doing before that got me sick, then I'm going to continue to do it, and you just draw a line. And if you're a female, obviously, you have the goods that the man is going to, if the man doesn't want to do it, you just cut him off, and I guarantee you he'll fucking jump right back in line, give it right back to you, give it back to him, and then he'll jump in line.
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
That actually worked. There was a story. There was a girl that was complaining about it, and that's what I told her. I said, listen, cut your husband off and tell him, start eating the way I eat, or no more for you. And you know what? She came back. It was like 3 days later. She goes, that worked. I was like, yep.
So men are simple. Yep. And I didn't know we were even going to go there with that. I think that's brilliant in a weird way. Okay. So that the other topic to that conversation is that'll work in a healthy marriage that has pretty decent communication. I think we both agree that you shouldn't use that as a weapon at any point in time in your relationship. But if it's something that you're so serious about that you're willing to put that on the line, okay, maybe. But again, having open communication is, I think, really, really key with that. So yes, don't necessarily use as a weapon. It
did work for her, though, just so you know. Wink, wink.
So, and I think the other aspect too is, if you have someone like me, and I'm just going to be honest, who's very, very brainwashed by other things, right? I'm a naturopathic doctor, so we were brainwashed that vegetables were amazing. The more you could eat, the better. Get 10 to 12 servings of nuts, grains, seeds, veggies, all of the things throughout your day, and you're going to be the most optimal health. If you're with somebody that has a lot of deep brainwashing from whatever camp it is, again, the leading by the example, and then he would also slowly kind of feed me bits of information from people who made a logical sense, right? You start listening to someone like Dr. Anthony Chafee, and he's presenting to you the information about anti-nutrients in plants, anything like that. We also listened to Dr. Paul Saladino's book. What was it? Carnivore Code.
Yeah.
We listened to that
It's a brilliant
together.
book, but
It is a really good book.
Yeah. It's before he switched to the fruit.
Well, so we listened to that on audiobook together at night before we went to bed. So we spent time laying in bed 20, 30 minutes each night, just listening to bits of it. And that helped too. So it helps if you can make the content consumption around this something you can do together where it's not coming from a place of pressure, but coming from just a place of, hey, can I share this with you? It's really interesting. So find someone that resonates with you, or maybe you can find someone that resonates with your partner. Like if you are the man in the situation and maybe your partner is a female, maybe finding a female that they might resonate with as the person would be beneficial for them. And opposite is true, right? Like if you're the female in the situation, maybe finding a male that your partner is going to register with as the person could be beneficial too.
For sure.
Yeah. So those are, I think, the biggest things. How else would you talk about getting your partner on board?
I think explaining, a lot of times people will jump into something and they don't really explain to their partner why they're doing it. And they may think it's for some superficial reason, like, oh, I want to lose weight. And it's like, well, Johnny, you've tried to lose weight 20 times and it always ends the same way.
Why is this different?
Why is this different? So, and a lot of times that conversation doesn't get had. So the wife is thinking that, doesn't say it. And the husband's like, why aren't you hearing me out? And meanwhile, the wife's just thinking about all the other things that you've done in the past that ended the same way. So I think it's very important to explain why you're doing it, changing your relationship with food, and it's not just a diet. It's, it's not about perfection, and I think a lot of carnivore in the community, we get kind of tied up in the whole, perfection thing, and perfection scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because for me, perfection is easy because that's the way I have to do things, right? I either do it all or nothing. Typically, right? And whereas she's more, easy does it kind of way. So for her to see me just dramatically change everything I was eating, that's kind of a scary situation for somebody like her, right? And if we don't have that conversation, then she's going to be thinking these things like, oh, wow, I don't want to have to do this. This just sounds terrible. Not knowing what the benefits are, the reasons why you're doing it. If I came to her and I said, hey, I'm doing this for my mental health. I'm doing this for, physical health as well, but I feel better, right? And I want to be a better person, a better father, a better husband. If you came with it from that perspective, she's probably not going to, push you away or tell you that, that's not something she wants to be a part of. So.
I think it's such a good point. And then the other thing that you kind of hit the nail on the head with that is that you kind of have to understand what your partner's relationship with food is like. So I come from a background of having literally all of the eating disorders. So for me to see a diet this restrictive, it really is triggering for me. I have to, in my head, have the ability to have complete freedom and make the choice on my own to get there. Because the second that you tell me, like, these are the rules, or a second I'm going to go off the rails for no reason except for that it's mental, right? So he knows that, right? So by him allowing me to kind of like ease in like a little like squirrel come into your hand, I don't have the desire to eat anything else because I got there myself. So if you do have a partner that has some sort of history of trauma with food or disordered eating, emotional eating,
I think is actually most women.
It's a lot of people. It's definitely a lot of women.
There's men too.
Men too. So get them help with that. Or this diet can also help too, but that has to be addressed before there's ever going to be success. Because when you're talking to them about diet changes, you're not actually talking to them about diet changes. You're actually triggering childhood trauma. You're triggering stuff that's coming up for them that maybe they actually can't put a name or a feeling to, that has nothing to do with food.
That's what I was saying. Yeah. Usually it's a conversation they're having in their head. They're not having with you. And that just brings up all that stuff. So,
So that's important.
Agreed.
Cool. Okay, so the next part let's chat about is, well, why would you, like, what are the benefits that you're going to get by doing this together? And one thing that I want to bring up is that if you are a couple who's coming from a standard American diet, or just any diet that isn't necessarily keto-based, carnivore-based, or a diet that's very high in carbohydrates in general, you are likely going to be on blood sugar roller coasters, right? High spikes of blood sugar all the time with crashes coming down. And a lot of people don't put this together in their relationship, But this blood sugar roller coaster can actually be something that triggers a lot of fights, animosity, disagreements, frustration, just like anything with your partner, because you're not running even. And they're also triggering inflammation in your brain, right? So you can't think straight. It's harder to put thoughts together. It's harder to be rational. It's harder to be logical. So at the very bare minimum, at least getting that stuff out of your diet. Like if you don't go full carnivore and you guys just go low carb or no carb or keto, you're actually going to notice a really positive change in how you guys are able to connect and communicate, because there's going to be less reactivity.
I could, yeah, for sure. For me, it was a big change. 100%. I was a better father, better husband, better friend,
more patient,
absolutely more patient. Yeah, I had terrible patience before.
He was very strongly reactive on a lot of things, and part of that, there is some like triggering of past traumas for that stuff too. But a lot of it is just like if your blood sugar is all over the freaking place.
Yeah, but inflammation also, you're in fight or flight all the time, and that's the thing that we don't realize is that we actually, we trigger fight or flight ourselves. I mean, when you go to the gym and you have, you do something super stressful, that is actually, you're putting yourself into a fight or flight. You deal with it, but all of those different things have an effect on your hormones and how you feel. So not doing that to yourself with food 15 times a day or however many times you have to eat when you're, on a carb-based diet absolutely helps with your mood stability. It's 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's another really good point about just general stress and inflammation levels is that if you're constantly eating things that don't agree with your system, right? So food intolerances, anti-nutrients, things like that, you're always going to be adding that chemical stress to your body, and you're always going to be adding more inflammation to your body. So you're consistently existing in a state where your body's trying to heal and repair, which doesn't leave you a lot of room to actually exist in a place that's good and healthy, right?
For sure.
So that's one of the biggest things is just simply get better blood sugar management, and you will notice that your relationship will change truly. Like, prove me wrong. Just try it. Prove me wrong. I think another thing too is that a lot of people on the carnivore diet. So I just want to make a quick aside. We're married. Probably a lot of couples watching this might be married or looking to get married or whatever. You take your vows and you say in sickness and in health. And I think that honestly, a lot of people leave that up to chance, that they're just going to go about their lives, that they're going to eat what they want and they're going to do what they want and they're not going to pay any attention to it. And they're just going to rely that their partner is going to stick with their vows and take care of them if they do end up in the sickness part. I personally don't think that that's the right way to do it. I think that the best gift that you can give your partner is you trying your absolute best to be as healthy as possible for as long as possible. Like I just, that's my soapbox. I really do draw the line on that. Like the best thing that I can do for him is be healthy. And this was really obvious over the last few weeks when I was super sick. I was literally bedbound for days, and he had to pick up a lot of everything that was happening in the house, right? Taking care of the kids, preparing all the meals, all that stuff. And it's a lot. It is a lot to be a burden on your partner. And if you can remove some of that guesswork, especially when it comes to chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, by eating a proper diet, you're only going to, again, make your relationship that much better.
I agree 100%.
Okay. So again, a lot of people on this diet will experience benefits in their body composition changes. So fat loss.
You want something to drink here? She's still recovering from.
I still have like a little like thingy.
What are you asking about? Fat loss?
Fat loss as a couple.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, that comes from, honestly, just from cutting out the vegetables. And so I'm friends on Facebook with this naturopathic doctor, and she always posts these like pictures of like vegetables and this and stuff. And I don't think that like people understand that your body buffers these toxins from plants by holding on to fat so that it can, buffer those toxins. And a lot of people, they eat salads and vegetables all the time. And there's just a little bit of extra body weight, right? You can look at them and you can tell that, yes, they look healthy, they look muscular, but they're holding on to a little bit of extra fat. And they always can't get rid of it, right? They always have to try this new diet or this new thing or try fasting. And for her to watch what happened when she just cut out salads was just like was like her body just turned on the way it was supposed to turn on.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious.
Sex drive, everything just started to like jump back on. And I think that's remarkable. And then, like the weight just came off. It was so fast.
Yeah.
And this was after you had Zen. So you just had a baby.
I had just had a baby. So the other thing with fat loss, if you guys have ever heard the term FUPA, fatty upper pelvic area, it's something that a lot of Americans have. It's just from excess consumption of carbohydrates, insulin resistance. It's the fat that you get in that like upper or lower abdomen region. That will probably go away, which will in turn make your sex life better, as you'll be able to get just physically closer to each other, more friction, more movement. And guys, this can honestly make your package look bigger when you start having like losing that fat from that pelvic area. So that's always an added bonus as well. And the topic of fat loss, sex, hormones are another big thing. When you start cutting out the carbs, and you start increasing your healthy fats, you're actually going to preferentially push your hormones down the pathway to make more sex hormones, like your testosterone for men, estrogen, progesterone for women. So a lot of women will even find, even if they're premenopausal, postmenopausal, a lot of their symptoms will get better simply by changing this diet.
Yeah, surprise. She's like, what, 3 months pregnant, or 3 months and a week?
14 weeks today.
14 weeks. But what's funny is that, we don't use birth control, or we wouldn't, but she never had a period. So basically she went from
breastfeeding.
Oh, hi Zen. Speaking of breastfeeding.
Speaking of babies.
So he stopped breastfeeding, and usually women will have to have a period before they can get pregnant. So because of the carnivore diet, as soon as she stopped breastfeeding, she got pregnant almost instantly. It was kind of interesting. Oh, hi.
Yes, okay. We got some babies. So let's actually just pause this and then we'll come right back. All right, we're back. Sorry for that. I guess there's technically not a delay on your end because we're slicing these together. But okay, we had just talked about hormones. We talked about me being able to get pregnant on this very, very easily, which was really cool.
With extremely low body fat, which people will always say, oh, women can't get pregnant with. I mean, you probably
I wasn't fat enough to get pregnant according to most people.
Super, super lean. Muscular,
you could see pretty much all my abs throughout most of the summer. So very lean. And again, I didn't eat all the things that people said I should eat, right? You're supposed to eat all these whole grains and a whole bunch of fruit and vegetables and definitely get those nuts for those healthy fats. I ate none of that. I basically pre-gamed for this pregnancy with a ribeye every day. And yeah.
That got you pregnant.
And apparently that worked. So next thing about a benefit that you guys are going to have in your relationship. We kind of talked about sex life, overall mood. I think we kind of already touched on this, but both of you are going to have such better, even-keeled moods. And this is going to even be like triggered by your better sleep too. I know you experienced changes in sleep. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, mine kind of went back and forth. I had some issues with iron that kind of interfered with my sleep. But in general, I felt when I first started carnivore, everything was really, really good. And I would sleep less, but I would feel better when I woke up. So I wouldn't need, feel the need to sleep for 8 or 9 hours. I would sleep 7 hours and I'd wake up and I'd feel great, right? Ready to attack the day. As opposed to before, it'd be, you'd want to stay in bed longer to try to get that extra sleep, but you would feel tired when you woke up. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, that's so true. Another benefit is meal times are going to become so much less stressful or so much less involved for you. You're going to spend a lot less time prepping for whatever it is that you're having. You're going to spend a lot less time figuring out like, oh, what are we having for dinner? Planning your meals for the week. Like it becomes so easy to just pop some burgers on the grill, pop a ribeye on the grill, spare some bacon and eggs. Like everything becomes easy with meals. And that allows then you guys to have more time to communicate, connect, really focus on the things that actually matter when you take these unnecessary time fillers off your plate.
There's less dishes too, and there's less like utensil kind of things that you need, or different pots of this type.
Reduce your fights over who's doing the dishes.
Yeah, you have less dishes to do. There's less, but there's also less things that you need in the kitchen, right? Because like for most of the time, it's just me going out and turning on the auto grill and throwing steaks on there, and that makes it so easy.
Yeah, exactly. So you just get to spend more time together. I guess one thing is that You're also not going to go out a lot. You're probably probably reduce your grocery bill, and you're probably going to reduce your restaurant or eating out bill, which again,
It's a lot of money.
better for your marriage, because most marriages, I think the statistics are that most marriages that end in divorce are due to some degree of money troubles.
Mhm.
So if you guys can figure out how you can now save money on this way of eating, doing it together, again, better things, like maybe now more is going into a 401k or investments or something else that you're building for your future. Maybe you're saving for a house. Maybe you're saving for education fund for kids. Like, it could be anything, but now again, something else that you can get on the same page with.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Cool. I think one of the last things is you're simply going to also have an accountability buddy. You know, it's hard enough just to do like life in general on your own. But when you're navigating something like this diet, especially if you're brand new to it, having somebody that's kind of in it with you and going through it together it's cool. Like, it's just cool, you know, and like, your person's supposed to be your person. Like, I really do feel fortunate that like I've always got a buddy for everything who's on the same page as me, because it just makes life a little bit more fun.
Yep. To me, that was the whole purpose of getting married.
Have a buddy.
Have a buddy.
Have a buddy forever.
Have a buddy.
You're my buddy.
Yep.
So, okay. Anything else?
No, that's pretty good.
I think this is a good start for you guys. If you really, you know, if you're watching this, I really hope that like, okay, those are some points. I can use this. I can help with this.
Yeah, for those of you that are like scared to try something because you feel like you need to convince your partner first, this is the kind of stuff that you need to hear, because you know, the one thing I say, you're not going to convince, you don't convert somebody, you don't convince them of doing it. What you do is you show them how great it is, and you express the different things that are benefits, and they decide to do it on their own. That's the best way to sell somebody. You're not really selling them on the diet, or like, oh, you know, you just show and express all the different great things that you're going through, and then all of a sudden they want to do it too, right? And then it's easy. It's their idea, right?
And I would even take that one step further, and I would say, don't sell them on it. Like, because we've had this conversation before where he has sold me on things in the past, and all that will do is build up resentment.
I'm good at selling though.
He's very good at selling, but this time he didn't sell me and it worked. So I would say, don't try to sell them at all, because you run the risk of building up some resentment in that marriage, especially if they feel like it's not working for them, they're not getting the right results. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Anything else?
Maybe that's it.
All right. Well, you know, and if you guys, you know, if you're not already in our Facebook group, we'll drop the link below to join Carnivore Harder, Happier, Healthier. Like we were saying, we've had conversations in there about this relationship stuff before. So you can definitely drop questions in there. Find us both on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Solt. He's at Carnivore Z. And of course, subscribe to our channel if you like our content. See you in the next video.
Bye.